This show is proudly brought to you by the #Me Network. Access granted.
Kia ora, and thanks so much for tuning in to episode 64 of Access Granted, our weekly Kiwi Tech and Media podcast. And today we are recording in the Fork and Brewer here in Wellington, and they do keep turning on and off some brewery stuff.
Yeah.
So bear with us, dear listener. It will hopefully go away at some point, and it doesn't affect the actual goal of the interview. And who am I? I'm Mike, and my background is explaining stuff, connecting people, and getting things done.
And I'm Raj. My background's in film design, media, and making things happen. And you're here because you're a Kiwi that either works in or has a great passion for tech and media in New Zealand. Episode 64. And this show will be catching up with Alastair Thompson, CEO, co-founder, and chief bottle washer at Scoop News.
So the event we're going to have at the end of the year, announcement's coming, but we do need your thoughts, dear listener, to email us, find us on Twitters, at Access Granted NZ. We're on Facebook, Access Granted NZ, or email us at podcast@accessgranted.nz. We're on brand, aren't we, mate?
We're everywhere.
Yes. And what we'd like to know from you is who, out of any of our shows from last year or this year, you would like to see live on stage telling their story. Thanks a lot. Right, Alastair Thompson. This is a fascinating conversation with Alastair. And we are led to believe we have, for the first time, the whole scoop. The scoop on Scoop, the internet party, and kin.com debacle. And we have the real deal explained from Alice's point of view, of course. So settle in and listen to the first and possibly only time ever that Raj and I act like actual journalists.
Well, he brings it out on us, didn't he?
He did.
Yeah.
He did.
Made us a bit more professional than usual.
Goldings at Studio 1 as normal, and we have at the table, we have a scoop. Ah! Come on. You haven't heard that before, Alastair, have you?
No, not at all. Thank you very much for making us such a wonderful new joke.
You're going to use it everywhere.
Oh, God, you said it. Alastair, CEO, co-founder, owner of Scoop.co.nz, the finest New Zealand news sites going.
Most authentic.
Personal opinion.
You know what? Yeah.
And so, Alastair, we have the standard question we ask everybody at the beginning, which is, what makes you happy?
Right, so I just heard you ask that question of someone else. What makes me happy? Body balance makes me happy.
Body balance?
No, yoga and
I thought you meant
and exercise and getting
exercise courses.
Getting stronger. I mean, every day I'm trying to do yoga every day, like 7 days a week.
Yeah.
And mainly because what I discovered is that if you just do 3 yoga classes a week, you sort of maintain your flexibility and you don't deteriorate too much. Mm-hmm. If you do about 5 or 6, you sort of improve slowly. But if you do like 6 or 7, you get stronger and more flexible.
So can you reach over there and get a beer? Or
I can all the way.
I don't think yoga makes you into Mr. Stretcho or whatever.
Well, that's my reference from Street Fighter. The guy that did yoga could stretch across the room.
Okay.
Yeah, anyway, that's not real life. Okay.
So yoga makes you happy?
It does.
Yeah?
Okay, I don't know anything about this, but all I do know is through my wife and her friends is hot yoga's the thing. Is that what we're talking here?
No. So I do. I mean, body balance is a
body balance. That's a thing.
So it's a sort of a form of sort of fairly. It's a combination of yoga and tai chi and Pilates, and to music. So it's choreographed as well. So it's a little bit like dancing. But
choreographed yoga, Pilates.
Yeah. Awesome. And tai chi.
Right.
Excellent.
How do you feel afterwards? You go
just
pretty
wonderful.
tired.
That's the point. I feel like
you get in.
Yeah. So a few years ago, I started to go to exercise and was doing sort of the weights exercises, and I think I just got completely hooked from straight away. Just in the middle of the day, taking a break from work and clearing my head meant that in the afternoon I was more productive and happier. I think I was basically happier.
I tried the yoga recently and it was pretty interesting.
You did?
Yeah. My brother-in-law was doing it. And I said, "What are you doing?" And he goes, "I'm doing yoga." Yeah, have a seat. So I gave it a go. A couple of poses, I think they're called. And then you wake up, you almost, you feel like you've woken up. It was early in the morning anyway, but I've actually woken up now, not all fuzzy, need a coffee. I've woken up, I'm ready to go. It was quite an interesting experience. But I haven't done it.
You've intrigued me,
that
honestly.
often.
Yeah. Okay, so it's lunchtime.
So now I know what they rave about. They love it, and then I know why now.
So,
It is for me, but that's just because it's convenient. And
very cool. And the thing that you are doing it, the work is Scoop, and how long have you been doing that? How long has it existed for?
Scoop has existed for 16 years, a little bit over 16 years now.
It's always been online? It's always been...
Yeah. But there's another two and a half years before that as newsrooms, which was pretty much the same thing. So it's really 20 years. Close to.
Yeah. Seen a lot of change, I can imagine.
Yeah.
In the media industry. Is that
Well, I mean, we started in 1987, so the World Wide Web didn't exist until 91 or 92 or something. And even then...
So what was it then?
Well, there was the internet, but there was Telnet and...
But what was Scoop then?
Well, Scoop wasn't until 97, so it wasn't... So the World Wide Web, which was amazing when I first saw it. And
do you remember your first website?
Well, Newsroom would have been my first website.
Oh no, the first one you went to, like this.
No, but I do remember it was Netscape. No, it was Oasis. It was Oasis, which then later I think became Netscape.
Yes. Volvo.com was mine.
Right.
And it's still my test site. You know, you go, oh, is the internet working? I go, Volvo. Because it was my first site, and it blew my mind because I couldn't get my head around that what I was seeing wasn't on our network somewhere, it was on something else's, but I'm seeing their pictures.
It's on your screen.
And someone showed it, and it had such a profound effect on me.
It blew me away, and I just thought, wow, this sort of changes a lot, and then I discovered multi-user dungeons and
awesome,
which were basically early morgues, and pretty much exactly the same. I mean, like you kill monsters and you earn points and you fight with each other and sort of trash talk. I mean, it's really no difference.
We've evolved so much. They're prettier now.
Yeah, look at Minecraft. It's evolved a lot.
Minecraft, Lego World is my son's into that. So this is it. Where was this? Where were you doing all this stuff? The first website?
This is
uni, or is this a job, or
no? So I was a journalist in the press gallery from 93, 94. I mean, I worked at the Dominion before that, and then I worked for NBR for a while, and then I had a job for North and South. And Robin Langwell didn't get on with me for some reason. I don't quite know what. But Robin Langwell didn't get on with a lot of people, so I wasn't that surprised. And I don't think anyone else was that surprised. And so I became a freelance journalist for a while, and I was editing a newspaper, and about that time we decided to set up the first startup. So it was basically that year that I became a freelancer, and I wasn't paid for the first startup for a couple 2.5 years, but I just loved it. And it was amazing, the freedom to publish directly to a publication which people were actually reading was astonishing, because the thing was, blogs didn't really exist. I don't know if Blogger was actually even. I mean, if it was around
2003, 2-ish.
No, I think it might have appeared earlier than that, but
okay.
But I mean, it was definitely in the 90s, but it was definitely, I think it was after 97. I mean, by the time we launched Scoop, there was a few things.
Let's go find out.
But I think the thing was that whilst these technologies did exist overseas, they weren't necessarily being used here.
True.
Yeah.
And
well, I guess because of our connectivity wasn't the greatest then compared to some of the other countries.
And basically, so Peter Fowler, who's now the Hawke's Bay correspondent for Radio New Zealand, and I sort of gathered in a garret that he was living in on the terrace, and he said he wanted to set up a website, and I said that's a great idea. And he was just between jobs, and he was a bit down on his luck. And I said, well, I'm in the Briscoe, there's just all these press releases. There's just this mountain of paper comes into my inbox every day, and we just put it straight in the rubbish. I mean, we're sure it's interesting to someone, but it sure as hell isn't interesting to us. But,
Yes.
I mean, but what if we just publish all this shit? And yeah.
Is that the business case? What if we
That's
publish this
basically.
shit?
I mean, it was, but I think the really interesting thing is that it didn't just our publishing it actually created a demand for the creation of it. So,
Your fault.
well, no, I think
You heard it first.
I think that the standard of expression of our politicians is probably a great deal better than it would be, but for our existence, we probably would. They'd be even worse if it wasn't for us.
Probably more like America or something.
I mean, they're very fighty and scrappy in the House, which I think is starting to really disappoint me, and I'm disliking it.
Watching Question Time, you just sit there going, what's going on?
And I think that if people were watching more video, that they would dislike politicians even more. The politicians don't seem to have caught up with the Facebook sort of like ethos, which is like the nice guy is the person that everybody likes. Jon Stewart, white man behind a desk. Somebody that's amusing and fun and engaging and positive is an infinitely more interesting voice to be engaging with than angry Andrew or Screamy Key.
Screaming Key. I'm loving Colin at the moment. Saw him on a breakfast TV today, getting all angry.
Who, sorry?
Colin.
Yeah.
Whatever. This is 4 or 5 weeks ago.
Yeah.
It's probably all been done and dusted. They probably think you're talking about the one that's happening now.
Oh, I am.
Back in the future. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. There'll be another one. There'll be another press conference that he calls.
Oh, I bet a new pamphlet. It must be monthly.
It started press releases from parliaments.
Yeah. Political parties. And initially they published them themselves.
On their own website.
So, no, they didn't have their own website.
Oh, I see.
They published them on our websites. We gave them access to our website, and they literally logged in and published them. And they published them around the clock. I mean, they loved it.
Oh, wow.
But then it all fell apart. You see. So we sort of had a big falling out. Peter Fowler and I, and the other two founders, and he declared that he was the sole director of the company.
Oh, okay.
And that we were no longer employed.
Okay.
And so we then took some legal advice, and which concluded that he didn't own the server.
The physical.
He didn't own a physical server or the software that it was running on, because that belonged to one of the other co-founders, because he'd never really paid for it. So we seized it.
You can have everything else.
And
all we want is the machine and the software.
Well, no, we gave him back the data. Yeah, we want the machine. We gave him back the data. He lost it. They subsequently seem to have lost it, which is a bit of a shame. So I mean, but so we thought, oh well, that'll stop this.
That's right.
That'll end this argument.
We put the machine and the software.
But he had already been developing a new set of software with Glazier Systems, which was Rod Drury's company.
That's right.
And so he was preparing, to ditch us all anyway.
Ah, I see.
Or ditch our software guy anyway, in particular. And well, I don't know. I mean, that's probably defamatory, so you might want to delete that.
We'll get rid of it.
Oh, there's it. You said you wouldn't do it.
No, you don't have to. But I think. I
might, just in case. I don't want any dramas coming your way. You know.
I don't. It's too long ago, I think, for anyone to really care.
So you're at the beginning of the. Well, no, you're not even at the beginning of the media. Geez, look, we're from the outside looking in and going, oh, newspapers are dead and media's changed and all the stuff that we've 5 years, 6, 7, 8 years we've all. You're even before that.
Not really.
Doing
I'd already decided. Like I was a reporter in a newspaper, and by '94 it was obvious newspapers were in decline. That there was never going to be there might eventually be a management position, but unlikely that pay grades were going to get better. Everyone was being made redundant. Even then, people were being steadily cut. I think the golden days of the newspapers in my career were probably 1990.
Yeah.
89.
So you hopped out, got onto internet.
Got onto internet, and I loved it, completely loved it, absolutely amazed it. And we found that we could write editorials, and then we submitted them to Yahoo.com, full coverage pages, which were being curated by actual editors.
Yeah.
And we'd say, like, we'd like to be linked with, in the editorial section, which would have, like, New York Times, Washington Post,
Scoop.
Newsroom.
Newsroom, right,
at the time, but then later was Scoop.
Yeah.
And I mean, you get to know these editors, and every time that happened, like, you'd get, I don't know, 50,000 people would read your editorial about Vladimir Putin or something, and you think, oh fuck, this is amazing.
And the machine would grind.
and we discovered clickbait when we published a piece that was by an Indian author that was submitted to us that had the headline A-bomb in the hand of uncivilized blacks.
Imagine my surprise.
And anyway, that story just went completely through the roof, utterly ballistic. Searched clickbait. The headline was, and it was Yahoo ran it. I mean, it was a considered piece talking about racism in light of the first Indian A-bomb test, which I think took place in '98 or something like that, maybe '97.
So I can see that now. I can understand the headline, but I would have clicked.
And I mean, and half of our audience in those days was in the States, like more than half of it, even as late as 2003, 2004 was in the States.
So you've moved on then. The site's moved on from Parliament, and you're now doing.
We always
full-on news media.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah. I used to do a transcript of the questions, the questions of the day. They'd be on the radio, and I would write a sort of like in real time. It wasn't an actual transcript because it was just sort of paraphrasing, which we would publish. I did that for years. I can't. I mean, there's no way in a million years I could do that now. I just wouldn't be able to concentrate.
Well, just stick your phone against the thing, like Google.
With like an early live
type it in,
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Of it. I mean, and Hansard at those days didn't come out for like 3 days or something. So, and also when Hansard came out, it was on paper. But I mean, by that stage, it's too late. I mean, news is important when it happens.
Yes,
and it's important for about 24 hours maybe, and it sort of like becomes less important on a logarithmic scale.
So you're just ahead of the wave. You're pushing all the time. Where are you now? Where are you now? As in Alastair, and where's Scoop?
So where I am is that
you are the owner of Scoop still, because you went through.
My mother
suddenly just went. Oh, hang on.
My mother's the owner of Scoop.
That's true.
Actually.
Yes.
So it's a bit complicated, but I can talk about that.
Because you left and came back, and
I didn't really leave. So.
Do you know this?
It's like Hotel California, I guess.
So this is a genuine Scoop. So, and I've never talked about that.
Check us out, mate. Anyway, carry on.
It depends what you can say.
All right, yeah.
So, I need to be careful about what I say. So, essentially, at the end of 2013, we felt like Scoop by that stage was, I don't know, 15, 14 years old or something, and we were on the verge of finally making it, because we had an investor who was basically putting in I think he was putting in $500,000. Yeah, was the plan, and we'd also managed to purchase, so NZX eventually, the stock market eventually purchased Newsroom. So after Newsroom continued with Roger for a while, and then it was sold to NZX, and NZX didn't really care about it, but it was a zombie competitor, so it was a complete pain in the neck for us from a competitive market perspective, because there was a sort of a very weak competitor in the market that hated us with sort of a strange intensity,
That's a great line.
And we had for some time thought, well, strategically, that would be really good if we could bring the companies back together, because then we'll have a strong entity which can have much better negotiating power with its customers. And that had happened too. So it had come on the market, and we'd sort of secured a nice inside line on the purchase of it, and pretty much concluded the negotiations. And I had also been negotiating with Kim.com a big advertising deal, a really big, decent size, the biggest advertising deal we'd ever done, to advertise the internet party for the election. And he sort of wanted me to do more within the party than that, and the whole thing was a bit complicated. And towards the end as Christmas sort of approached, I took on some responsibilities which I shouldn't have, which were principally related to trying to get decent legal advice around writing a constitution for a political party that would be useful. And I should have resigned from the press gallery at that point. However, the rules of the press gallery technically say that you're not allowed to lobby about a matter before the House, when the House is sitting. And the House rose on about, I think, the 10th of December that year, and it wasn't going to come back till January the 18th. So I sort of thought, well, I should really resign, but it doesn't. But I can resign if this goes ahead, and in the meantime I can keep trying to negotiate this advertising contract. And it took a long time to get the advertising contract. Anyway, we finally got the advertising contract. So Kim sort of agrees to the terms and conditions of our engagement, and getting various ducks lined up behind that was really, really difficult. And then I became very concerned about so then he was also having his birthday party, which was going to launch and he announced publicly that he wanted to launch the internet party at his birthday. And nobody sort of had picked up, well, that's a total disaster. You can't do that, because if you do it, then it potentially will be seen as treating, was the concern, even though the party doesn't exist. So there's no political party, and it's very difficult to see how you can be prosecuted for bribing voters before you have a political party. And I think the initial thinking was, why don't we launch the political party a couple of days later, or whatever. But even then, I then thought, well, even then that's still not going to work. And also, I didn't really want him to have a political party, because I thought it would be an utter disaster, unmitigated disaster for him and for New Zealand and for the whole war against surveillance and so I wasn't really keen for that to happen at all. I thought it would be much better if he just concentrated on a Get Out the Vote campaign and motivating young musicians to have concerts where because he could have put lots of money into having musical concerts with. At one point we thought, let's see if we can get Kanye West to come to Western Springs and fill it up with people. We'd have to make them pay, but instead of making them pay $50, it might be, or $100 or $150. We could charge them $15 or something, and they had to agree to vote if they wanted to come. So that was sort of the idea. And anyway, so what then happened is that we're within. I thought, well, okay, well let's. He agrees to the advertising. I have to tell my investors, and they'd all
scoop hat on.
So well, I was always had my scoop hat on. I was basically doing business development.
Yes,
it was large scale business development.
Yeah.
And whilst I wasn't keeping our investors completely informed about the detail of the discussions, which I don't think would have been appropriate necessarily in the circumstances, I was telling them that we were discussing this, and that Kim was serious about making a major advertising purchase. Anyway, so we come back, and the terms that Kim wanted to engage us on were not acceptable to the investor. So I then said to the investor, we'll go back and we'll cancel this. I'll renegotiate this with you.
Yeah.
And in the meantime, he advertised his birthday party at the Vector Arena, and 25,000 people signed up to go to his birthday party at the Vector Arena. And everybody, and the internal debate was, okay, well, if we can't get a really, really good act, then what'll happen? How will we fill the arena? And I think they were initially having it at a smaller venue, and then it was just mental. The number of young people who wanted to come to a free birthday party for Kim Come was just through the roof. So I thought, well, the reality was Kim had to choose between having a political party and having a birthday party. And I thought it would be better if he had his birthday party, because he launched his album too. It was also the launch of his album.
He wants to do everything at once.
He did. Well, I mean, that's his way. He does things big. I mean, he's a big guy.
Big, but physically nature big, physically big personality.
Big ideas.
Big ideas.
There's no point in doing something unless it's big, and unless it's mega. I mean, that's
Well,
really
yes, of course.
So yeah. So what happened then? So anyway, we're having this meeting at the lawyers, and I'm discussing with the lawyer that I'd encouraged him to hire, and another lawyer, what should happen, and they agreed that we had a problem in terms of treating, and so we asked him to come in.
Sorry, can you say that twice? Treating.
Explain
what?
So treating, technically, you're allowed to give scones and cups of tea to voters and nothing else,
Right.
including entertainment.
Because you're treating them to something, and therefore you're expecting something back. Yeah.
You're allowed to give stuff to members, though, so it's different for if people are, it's a little bit different for members.
Members of
Political parties. I mean,
Not a parliament of the party.
It's not. I mean, it's not actually different. Yeah, I don't know. The law is the law is very, very broad, and it can be interpreted to mean sort of anything, really.
That's how they get you, don't they?
But in this particular case, we thought that there was a reasonable risk that inviting 25,000 people to a free concert that has that. But I mean, no, because the launch of the political party wasn't going to be on. It wasn't.
So
we'd already taken that out of the event.
But they'll also associate him with the party and then him with the political.
Well, they would announce. He was planning on announcing the political party like 2 days later.
Yeah.
So anyway, he had to choose between the two, and he decided to go with the political party. And but in the meantime, on his way in, he tweeted the name of the political party. At which point, Cameron Slater then immediately published a blog post where he said that I was going to be the general secretary of the party. And he also said that I'd registered various domain names. And as far as I was concerned, I'm a digital agency. I'm selling a client digital agency services. I need to protect his IP rights. That's part of my responsibility. I didn't think I had any problem with the domain names. But I did have the problem with him the saying that I was going to be the general secretary. I wasn't going to be the general secretary.
But to be fair, though, he's not really a journalist, is he? He's just some muppet.
Well, no, but I mean,
but it's out there now.
But he published that, and then I then immediately got like 25 calls from the press gallery, and more to the point, I also got a message from the investor saying, "Look, you need to resign immediately."
Oh no!
If you're A, you can't be B.
Right.
And I said, "Well, look, I resign, but let's talk about this after this meeting. It's not a good idea for me to resign in a crisis without us having a meeting. I'm the editor of the publication. I mean, and that's kind of, I mean, there's issues involved in that. Anyway, I'm still sitting in this meeting, which is still going on. This guy hasn't made his decision, and then I see tweets saying the investor has announced my resignation and is starting to do interviews and is doing interviews on the radio. I mean, this is on the 15th of January, to be fair, so no one's really listening to the radio, and no one's reading the newspaper either. So
I was watching the tweets go by past me. What the?
Yeah.
In confusion. I'm not quite sure what's happening here, but something is.
Anyway, so I didn't immediately. Well, no. I mean, I actually felt that night as if my life had ended. All of my life's work was gone. Almost certainly, the internet idea was in disarray, and so was Scoop, So was the relationship with the investor. And the truth is, I mean, and then, so it was a very, very hard time. So we then, basically, I then went into silence because I couldn't say anything publicly unless it was agreed. And I didn't want anyone to say anything publicly because as far as I was concerned, the most important thing was let's all just shut the fuck up.
Yes.
And chill out. Let's all chill out.
Right.
Stop the panicking.
Yes.
Don't talk to the media.
Yeah.
It doesn't help. Anyway, so...
You've heard that from both sides there in one sentence. That's
It doesn't help if you're in a conflict. I mean, just as a general piece of advice, never tweet in anger.
That's good advice.
Never ring up a journalist with a story that you think is going to hurt someone else. Because it almost certainly is going to hurt you.
Yeah. Because the question always is, so I wonder why he called.
Yeah. Motives. Yeah.
Anyway, so that's
a hell of a time.
So basically...
13, 14?
So that was 14. So that was January the 15th, 2014.
Yes.
I'm never going to forget it. The moment that completely catastrophically changed my life. So,
but here we are talking to you now as the editor of...
So basically, then 40 days later...
Is it really 40 days?
It was exactly 40 days later. We get a letter from him saying, we've decided not to complete our purchase of the company. I mean, in the meantime, we've had a bunch of press releases saying that I've resigned as editor and someone else has been appointed as editor. And he's taken over management of the company and he's purchased newsroom and all this jazz. And then he basically writes a letter saying, I'm pulling out of the contract. You can have it back, I suppose, was the implication. And at which point I walked into the office on the Monday morning, took my desk back, said hi to everybody.
Carry on, Jeff.
I'm back.
I'm back, yeah.
How bizarre.
And we were kind of quiet about it for a while, because, everybody had been completely traumatised by the experience. The staff had been traumatised, and it was hard for the business to operate without me there, because a lot of the client relationships were mine, and there was a public facing discussion about how this was all working, and then there was what was actually happening behind the scenes.
Because you've recently gone through the Scoop campaign. Where's it going to go? Paywalls, not paywalls.
I went back because otherwise, I went back partly because. Well, we had no choice. At that point, if we walked away at that point altogether, then the investor would have taken the company completely, and we would have never been paid, and we would have had no rights, and he would have just would have taken the company, which didn't seem fair in the circumstances.
But it's more about not. Did you go back with a different attitude now? Going, it's like that. I've dodged that bullet.
I came back. It felt at the time very emotional for what had happened, and I felt as though I'd screwed up monumentally, and I wanted to try to put it right. I wanted to try to. We had an election ahead of us, which was a very important election as far as I was concerned, and I thought that we could play a positive role in that election in terms of trying to encourage youth vote in particular. So I then put a lot of energy into trying to run a get out the vote campaign, or encouraging and rock and roll, and the CTU ran a big get out the vote campaign, and there was some other stuff that went down during the election, which was good. I went away for the election itself, so I had actually already booked a trip sort of the previous year away for August and September, anticipating a November election. And needing a holiday, really seriously needing a holiday. So when the election was rescheduled for the 20th of September, I thought, well, great, I won't be here for the election, which would be good. But I didn't say to anyone that I was away. So I went away to France and Spain. And for a while I still did my radio live crosses to Redbird on Radioactive, while from the sort of hills of France. Early in the morning.
I'd say,
as
the sun was coming
evening.
up or whatever. Yeah, well, no. It's the world of the internet.
Yeah.
But there's a point where you've reevaluated the business model, and not just of Scoop,
So I mean, all of this,
media.
I mean, I think ever since the global financial crisis, there has been a cycle of development of advertising medium ideas which have very, very, very small life cycles. So there is a flash of an opportunity for publisher and or technology developer to make large amounts of money for a brief period of time. So, for example, we see Wildfire was purchased by was it Google?
Google.
And it's closed down. I mean, like two or 3 years later, I mean, they paid $220 million for it.
Just to shut it down.
Well, no. Suck out
gradual
the bits.
Well, I mean, also to earn the money while you can. So there'll be I mean, at the moment, there will be video AdWords. There'll be targeted video delivery networks, which Google is targeting now because basically Flash is evil. Flash should be gone.
Yeah, I hope it's gone soon.
Unfortunately, there is a lot of sunk investment in Flash. There is a shitload of data mining enabled video serving platforms which are all written in Flash. So there's a massive security. There's a massive. Well, Chrome apparently is going to by default shortly turn to not allowing Flash.
Yep.
Yep.
The alpha version does that already, and that's about 3 to 6 months version away.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. No, it's gone.
And that, I mean, Chrome's the biggest browser now.
Yeah.
And to be fair, Firefox and IE and Safari are all doing it, but Google and Chrome and Chromium are very much more aggressive.
Yeah.
So they're not saying.
I think Firefox has turned it off already.
They've done it because of the security alert, not from the fact of it shouldn't exist at all. They've done it because of certain security issues. But if you upgrade, it gets turned back on. So they just went, oh fuck, for a particular reason. So they've all got like an 8 months window.
If you look at the internet these days, all of those static ads that you see, they earn almost nothing. They're only ever sold on a performance basis, and because they're so ubiquitous, the click rates on them are tiny. Like they get click rates of 1 in 10,000 adverts or something. Scoop doesn't run any of those adverts. We stopped running all performance-based advertising in 2008. We decided then that there was no way we can make money out of this. We shouldn't do this. Fairfax launched their own performance display network. Fairfax got killed quicker than APN in that particular market because they basically decided to cannibalise themselves in such a way that they completely destroyed their entire premium market, but in those days it was access to this better audience. What's happening now is that, I mean, advertising agencies just prefer video. Video is just better, and video as a medium is just better in a million different ways.
Well, and is that right?
Yeah, we're using video more.
So Raj works for Haynes Attract.
Yeah.
And we do a shit ton of video.
Yes, there you go.
Animation's gone out the window. Flash is whatever.
Yeah.
Video
animations is okay.
It's okay.
Yeah.
But video is the key to better storytelling.
Yeah.
That's what the whole key is for any advertiser, is trying to tell a story, then buy some shit. But the video. I mean, years ago saying video is the next big thing, and it's become the big thing. Right?
So the
message I used to hear 6-7 years ago about it, it's now this is it. Yes.
But Twitter has now introduced video. I mean, autoplay video display.
Yeah, autoplay is not right. You shouldn't autoplay anything.
I think autoplaying when it's on the screen with the sound off, like the Facebook stream, that's quite clever. That's actually quite clever.
It's okay. Yeah.
I mean, you actually get enough to see enough to. I mean, it's eating your bandwidth.
Some users go, "Hey, wait a minute, I didn't action that."
But when these same things are activated at the moment, as they are on a lot of newspaper websites with their Flash players, what happens is there's a sort of like a countdown to autoplay, and then they autoplay in the background. And after a while of this happening, everybody just turns their sound down or never has them plugged in. But all of these adverts are recorded as being watched.
Yes.
And they're watching off of the screen, and they're eating bandwidth. I mean, it's just the most. It's a big load of bullshit. Really,
so no eyeballs were actually on it, which is how you try to measure it.
But the thing is, they're still the only ones which that's now the only market where there's any money now. So
As
that's
the publisher.
as the publisher, and that's why we're getting this crazy sort of move to clickbait and move to little videos, and we've got now to the point where Stuff from the Herald are publishing sort of cat videos as news stories. I mean, the Huffington Post started doing it. Yeah, okay, that's pretty stupid and sort of low rent. BuzzFeed does it. Yeah.
Well,
Okay, why the fuck is the Herald and Stuff doing it? I mean, honestly, just it beggars belief. And
Well, the Herald I can kind of understand.
So the
I mean,
answer
it's
is...
basically any money whatsoever. The news organisations are trying to make money in any way that they possibly can. And it's understandable
I don't have
that they're
a problem
doing
with
it. No, I don't have a problem with that
Because
either.
it's a business and they're trying to make money.
No. I don't
It's
have
the
a
content you get frustrated with, that's all.
I don't have a problem with it either. It's just that it's a dead end. Like at some point, it just dies.
It's a reality TV version of internet advertising.
Now, because internet advertising is overtaken TV now. It's more, and it should be because the time spent is just as high. 14 hours a week on TV, 14, 15 hours a week online, and the thing is, half of that time's on Facebook. Like roughly half of that time is on Facebook. I mean, it's not quite, but more or less, give or take a bit.
Yeah.
And the amount of time spent on news websites, on average, a few minutes, maybe 20 minutes. I mean, news is a very popular use of the internet, and people want there to be news. People want the news to be done. They want Campbell Live to be reporting about child poverty, even though they're not necessarily watching it.
They want...
So it's
So
a
that
still needs to be done.
journalism, I support and want journalism, but I don't want the journalistic or media publishing world. There's two different things. There's the act of being a journalist and doing journalism, and then there's the act of being a news publisher, and they are not the same.
No, they're not. But I suppose the point that I'm getting at, though, is more around that the value of news isn't derived out of the fact that large numbers of people watch it.
Yes.
So the value of asking the Prime Minister a hard question is that the Prime Minister's asked a hard question. It's not that 20,000 or 50 million people saw the hard question being asked.
It used to be all tied together.
It used to all be sort of tied
Because
together.
the hard question is what we wanted. They put it in one place. We all paid to see it.
And we all watched it. We all...
paid to read it, paid to see it. That's fine.
Now
That's separated, and therefore we have a problem.
Well, we're compelled to watch cat videos instead.
Yes.
And we're quite happy to trust the journalists, who are obviously clever people, to ask the hard questions, and we want that to be happening.
But they ain't getting the monies.
Well, so yeah.
So
this
why?
sort of
I
market
still need
failure.
to be paid to
So-
ask that question. Otherwise,
So after the election, after this latest election, 2014, the dirty politics stuff completely poisoned the well of online media. My personal feeling is that after the election, the combination of that and in the Internet Party and sort of like meltdown of the Labour Party, all working together had the effect of making people think that the internet was a bit of a problem as opposed to part of the solution when it came to politics in particular. And I don't know whether that was why, but basically what remained of online advertising market in New Zealand for banners, premium banners, and agencies that were trying to book sort of campaigns that were targeting influencers online with banners and engagement campaigns disappeared. It just triggered overnight. But I actually don't think it was because of that. I think it's just economics. I think our survival was extended for one additional year thanks to the fact that there was an election. So we ran a bunch of advertising because of the election, because we were a useful medium during the election, which kept us alive through the election. And we then discovered that half of our revenue model was gone. So Scoop, in sort of rough figures, Scoop sort of costs about $40,000 a month to run.
wow.
And we had about $20,000 of revenue from some other sources, and we had about $20,000 from advertising.
Oops.
And we had to replace that $20,000 a month of revenue. So come Christmas, I'm thinking, well, there's an outside chance that if we execute this crazy plan that I've got, that we'll save Scoop and we'll turn it into something which people we'll give it away. So we basically decided there was three things we decided. First of all, let's give it away. It's not a business, probably never really will be a business, and in any event, one of the key issues we have to address is trust in media, because people don't want to buy something from or give money to institutions which they distrust or dislike.
Absolutely.
I mean, it's hard enough getting the money from anything because everything's free on the internet, but I mean, to get money from people that they actually dislike is really hard. So and that the combination, and that led us to both connect with our crowd on the one hand, but to connect with our crowd around the message of we're giving Scoop to you to continue to be your voice. So, I mean, the reason why that I decided to do this was that we feel as though we've created a piece of public infrastructure. So Scoop is a means of everybody reaching a large audience, and it's also a means of everybody finding out pretty much exactly what's going on in real time, if they can be bothered, if they're interested. So I mean, they don't. And it's also a full archive, so if you want to find out what somebody did, like if you get really upset about what the Minister of Police did and you want to check, you can find that on Scoop, because it's there. So then if there was a public announcement about it and it was newsworthy, then it'll be there. I mean, not everything there, but a lot of important stuff is. So we wanted to preserve that, and we thought that given a choice, the public might also want that. The public and the businesses, the customers that we had, might also want to be able to continue it. But in order to get them to continue, we had to explain to them that, first of all, there was no other way, which is the most important thing. We can't do this. There is no income from advertising anymore. Secondly, we had to say, well, and from that they needed to realise, well, okay, we know there's no advertising income, but why do we care? So then we had to explain. We also wanted people to understand, well, if there is no news, there is no access to information, you will be disadvantaged. Now, we launched a thing called the State of NZ News Media, which was a series of articles. And the first two articles was one from me and one from Alison McCulloch, who's a very experienced journalist, New Zealand journalist who won a Pulitzer Prize. And she's even more down on corporate media than I am. But I basically said, look, the current system's all broken, but news is really important. So and then the next thing, then we ran our first campaign, and we raised $36,000 from Pledge Me, to the purpose of which was to gift Scoop to a publicly to not-for-profit, and that was really, really encouraging. And we discovered that people were willing to give us reasonably large amounts of money if we gave them a T-shirt and a notebook. I mean, great, that's excellent. I can sell $50 notebooks. We could make money out of that.
Might have to look into that, Mike.
Yeah. No, I bought one of those notebooks, don't worry.
And I think that's a... I mean, people want to support you.
Yes.
People want to buy. But you have to give them a way to do so, and you have to give them a way to do so that they understand. Now, so the next phase, and this was always part of the plan. So the commercial licensing idea was something that we'd figured out a long time ago. That legally, if our terms and conditions of use say, well, if you're using us for business purposes, if you're sending links of us to your clients, if you're quoting us in documents, if you're referencing us in business thing, and we state that you're not supposed to use us for that purpose unless you pay us, and you know that we're making that claim, and you then choose to ignore it, then maybe you should pay us. But we also realised that communicating that to people would be nigh on impossible. They would just say, well,
Whatever.
Well, the internet's free.
Yeah.
Take me to court,
Yeah.
which we wouldn't want to do because it would cost lots and lots of money, and by that stage we'd be dead. So how do we get convince people to do this? Well, what happened is the timing was obviously perfect. The rest of the media then started imploding. So Campbell Live was no sooner have we finished our first crowdfunding campaign than we hear that Campbell Live is about to go down the gurgler, and the Save Campbell Live campaign, and we sort of went really big with the Save Campbell Live campaign. And simultaneously, there was a whole lot of stuff going down at Fairfax and APU, and the day that Campbell Live actually ended, the day after the Campbell Live closure was announced, the story came out about it. The editor of the Herald, Tim Murphy, resigned. And it was, for me, that was quite a big development in sort of New Zealand media, probably just as important as Campbell Live, as John Campbell, not probably, actually, to be honest, Campbell was much more important, but the context is of that. And then subsequently we've had Fairfax advertise 180 jobs simultaneously. So they've done, and I mean, Fairfax has continuously had downsizings and changes in jobs, changes in roles. I mean, they grew because they took over Subbing for Australia and so forth. But they've never had such a big restructure at once. And unquestionably, they're being forced to do that by these economic effects which are taking place in the background. Because, I mean, digital advertising, not only are newspapers getting slaughtered, agencies are getting slaughtered. Management of the digital advertising inventory is being managed by robots, and those robots are just as likely to be being run out of Singapore as they are out of Sydney these days. And pretty soon I wouldn't be surprised if you'll see coordination of the robots from, and God only knows where, and they could be anywhere, really. I mean, there's no reason why Mike couldn't do it.
Well, there's many reasons why I couldn't do it, but yes, I know what you say.
And that, I mean, it makes sense to use sort of automated methods for this. You can't really fight against that. So anyway, by the time this is going to air.
So what are we probably, as we sit here now, what are we now? End of July is what we're recording at, and
we're reaching the end phase of all of this. So we started selling the licenses, and in the lead up to this podcast being published, there's probably going to be a whole lot of stuff on Scoop going on about the fact that we're in the final stages of turning into a not-for-profit. Our current target is about the 12th or the 19th or thereabouts, somewhere in that range of September in terms of executing the transaction, which will see New Scoop is what we're going to call emerge. And we're planning on launching a website which talks about New Scoop and the Constitution and the vision shortly, so in the next I think basically in the next fortnight, and then there'll be a month of consultation.
So for those listening now,
it should be there, and it'll be new.scoop.co.nz. It's actually there as a splash page that we launched today. So there's a splash page where you can sign up and you can be on the mailing list now. So if you want, so we'll be starting a campaign for that. I mean, this is the first time in Scoop's entire history that we've used Scoop's marketing tools for Scoop, for the purposes of trying to change the business model and change the marketing environment of Scoop. And I mean, it's been a wonderful experience because what we found is that in moving from a client service model, i.e. we're trying to sell you something, we have to convince you that the thing that you've got is the best thing that you could spend your $200 on, to a model where we're saying to you, you use Scoop, it's of high value to you. In all honesty, is it worth $400 to you? If so,
cough up.
Pay the man.
Pay the man, because otherwise you won't have it.
Yeah.
So sort of, and that actually has existed in software purchasing models for years. I mean, the fact that some of Atomic.io's customers are paying even though they don't have to is not unusual. I mean, that's always existed. The free software movement's always had little wee donations, and some people have even had licenses where they say, well, if you're using this for work, you have to pay.
Yeah.
But a lot of people still use it for free.
Yeah.
So there's a perfect. It's not unprecedented by any stretch of the imagination.
So taking parts of a business model or a business model from other industry and just going, well, why can't we have that?
Yeah.
It sounds weird and crazy, but works over there.
But the thing is, if it's valid, and I think it is, I mean, we've picked up, like as of now, which is 5 weeks before this, and we'll be doing a big selling up into the date. We have the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, the Ministry of Business, Innovation and Employment, the Department of Internal Affairs, the State Services Commission, Parliament, are all licensed users of Scoop.
We see the value and we do use it for business.
And there's a bunch of law firms have signed up, and I did a big address on Monday this week to the Law Librarians Association, and I had a very large group of people turned up, which, I mean, they seem to be really organised law librarians. Big ups to the law librarians. They're very good people, like them, lots. So, I mean, I don't know, it's I think I would have given this transformation exercise sort of like a 10% chance of success, because a whole lot of things had to go. We had to get the crowdfunding had to work. We had to be able to try and change people's positioning and introduce this product, and then people had to want to buy it and actually buy it. Because, I mean, wanting to buy it and actually buying stuff in New Zealand is not necessarily the same thing.
Asking someone how much you pay for that, $1. Okay, give me $1. No, I would. But they are.
Yeah, but
so the thing is, you're saying if you don't pay, it's going away. Yes, you could use it for free right now. Anyone can.
Yeah,
but if
later,
businesses,
you can. I mean,
it is all going to go away. That's what you're saying.
Well, I mean, I think the thing is, so is it going to go away if people don't pay? Is that the question? Yeah, it will go away if people don't pay, because we can't afford to do it.
So you're then approaching organisations saying,
I mean,
you can use this for free. Like, there's no paywall.
No. We're not saying that to organisations. We're saying, look, examine your conscience. If you're using us for work, you need to pay us. If you choose not to pay us, it's like piracy of software or piracy of music. You're basically breaking our rights. So we're asserting, in copyright law they say, we are asserting moral authority to be paid. That's the moral right.
Well, they do it with image rights and everything else. So.
No. I mean, in order for me to, we could stop them. We could block them. So,
and that's a paywall, or that's a something, or there's technical things you can do.
We really don't. We can't see any reason to go down that route if we get compliance voluntarily.
Yes.
And I mean, certainly over the past 6 months, in various circumstances, people said no in ways which were very annoying. And I thought, well, why don't we just block those bastards?
Yes. We know your IP addresses, but we can fucking do this.
But we did it because it's actually all about, I mean, I think one of the biggest lessons that I've learned in the past 6 months is which like at the very beginning we were talking about politics and how people don't like the angry voice. Mm-hmm. People don't like the angry voice. They don't like coercion. They don't like pressure. They don't like... And they respond to those things I mean, we've got all this research and now says that we have like 80% of the response to the verbal conversation is the tone of the voice. Like in terms of our emotional response, 80%.
Okay.
It's how we're saying it. Yeah. Not what we're saying, it's how we're saying it.
It's how we're saying
it.
You
sound like my wife. Oh my God. Yes,
you listen to her.
Yes, I know.
Oh.
But I mean, this is the great usability revolution. So I mean, we've got good online websites. As a result of having good online websites, all of the retail design is so much better than it's ever been. And I mean, I reckon railway station design, I mean, usability technology, which was developed essentially online, is being applied across the board to everything.
It's all UX everywhere.
It is.
All the time.
Fucking designers.
Yeah.
Thank God for designers.
You're going to hate them, but you know, things are changing.
Thank God for podcasters.
Oh, yeah. It's not what you say. It's not how you say. It's what you say.
Look, I mean,
Thank you.
So that's the story, really.
That's awesome.
Amazing.
So exciting times. Well, to be fair, if you're listening to this.
Some of the times might have
In
happened.
about a week's time. In about a week's time.
are
Yeah.
happening.
And I'm thinking, I mean, at some point we're going to have a party. So, I mean, if all of this is going spectacularly well, maybe we'll have a party next week or something. In
Right.
which case, you guys will be invited.
Which
We're covering it, definitely.
Which will also have been in.
And then we're going to have day one. So at that point, we're going to have day one. So Scoop, then that becomes a brand new startup. Because the reality is, we have completely changed our business model. We might as well be a brand new startup.
Yes, I totally agree.
We have a whole lot of, and we're learning. I mean, it's been a really intense learning exercise trying to sell completely different sorts of products for completely different and totally different mindset.
Yes.
And I mean, it's been really fun applying, I don't know, modern direct marketing techniques and I don't know, the wonderful analytics that are just available to everything these days that allow you to test the quality of your delivery.
Change Scoop the thing that I go and see?
Eventually, well, yeah, I mean, so I think...
Because otherwise, how I know it's changed?
Yeah, well...
You have to ask Alastair
yeah,
on Twitter. Has it changed yet?
No, you have to... Look,
This
Scoop...
comes back to what...
Scoop has been gradually evolving. I can show you screenshots which will show you that the style sheet is improving.
But if you are going to have a whole new thing, I mean, you do need to wear a new hat.
No, that's true. We do. We need a complete redesign. The current Scoop is 10 years old, and the reality is we have 1 million pages, and it's not I mean, converting it is actually not that big a job, but it's just been too big for the resources. For the last 6 years, we have been concentrating solely on things which result in additional revenue to us, and actually, the quality of the website wasn't really a determining factor in any of that. I mean, even if we'd spent an enormous amount of effort going after traffic for that 5-year period, and we were now sitting at 3 times the traffic that we have, that wouldn't make any difference. We would still be dead. Yeah. So I think with the benefit of hindsight, the fact that we actually just remained consistent in terms of the content offering, and I mean, we have got better because we have more contributors and we have some interesting sort of, we've got better at what we do. But I mean, mainly in the content area, I mean, the display and everything else hasn't really changed. And I don't know, when you look around the web, news websites are diabolically bad.
That's because they haven't changed in about 10, 20 years.
Because none of them are making any money.
Yes.
That's the problem.
They
None
make
of
money,
them are
they'll
making
invest in
any
it.
money.
Right. Yeah, you're absolutely right. Yeah.
See, because I still think that what you're offering now is when you say to business, like a Raz, it's a business MB or whoever you just said, you are supporting the act of journalism by doing this, by paying your monies. I mean, there's a license and there's an agreement, but as you say, some people say no in colourful ways. But you're paying for the act of journalism that is expressed through this site.
Yeah.
As opposed to the traditional app model, blah, blah. And that's, and you go back to the John Campbell thing, and you know, people who didn't watch John Campbell went, no, we want that. I never watched it, but I want it.
And then they started watching it.
Yeah.
Because now and again there's some snippets that are interesting to them.
But you're now saying to them, this is a thing that I know you want.
Yeah, well, I mean, if you don't want
it.
if you don't want it, and you choose not to pay for it, then it won't be around anymore.
Not it, the act of journalism. They're not paying. I don't believe
I think
they're actually paying for Scoop.
No. I think you're right. Well, possibly, yeah. I think. I mean, and Scoop is very utilitarian too. I think. I mean, because of what we do, the way in which we do news is quite different from the way anyone else does news. News is always about gatekeeping. It's about choosing the voices that get to be heard. Our editorial policy is publish everybody's viewpoints unless they are completely crazy or defamatory or hateful or various things.
So more like the internet, open, just fling it out there.
Yeah. So,
and that's, you're giving them an opportunity to have that guttural feeling of this is a good thing, and you've just offered me a way of supporting that.
Yeah.
And I'm up for that because that's something that I couldn't have done. I couldn't have paid for John Campbell. I really wanted to continue, but there's no option.
There was actually no way to do it. There was no avenue to do it. Yeah.
No, but you.
So we've found two different avenues for people to do it.
To allow them to do that.
And we found compelling reasons to explain to them why they would want to do that.
And you've explained it and stuff. But I think you've gone straight to the heart of, do you believe journalism is a good thing?
Yeah.
And
I think the fact that people started losing it, that's what really galvanised people and made them receptive to our message.
Yes.
Because they thought, right, well, okay, so if stuff in the Herald are going to have endless pictures of cats and a whole lot of Facebook stories about celebrities having fights on Facebook, what are we going to... How are we going to know what those guys across town are doing?
Yeah.
I'd ask, where's the real news?
Yeah.
Where's the real news going on?
Fascinating.
I know
Well,
that place.
it's 5-6 weeks' time when this goes out, so you guys all now know, dear listener, that the next stage.
Evolution of Scoop.
If you got to the end of this interview, then you are a truly dedicated listener to this podcast.
Excellent. Thank you,
Thanks a lot,
Alastair.
Alastair. Yeah.
That's been fascinating.
Insightful as hell, man.
Really appreciate it.
It's a pleasure.
And there's a scoop. In the scoop, I did it at the beginning, I did it at the end.
Oh, nailed it.
Bookended with a shit joke.
That was cool. He and Scoop have gone through a lot and came out the other side okay.
Yes.
And it's good to have another news source like Scoop out there, actually. As Alastair talked about, Scoop will become a non-profit, which will be interesting. It'll be interesting to see the transition between when it becomes a non-profit, how it all works. So keep an eye on scoop.co.nz or maybe .org coming up in the next few months.
.org.nz. So it may even be out as we speak, which is fantastic.
Awesome.
Next week, we have our regular rant and rave session with Mauricio from the Geek Zone, and I love these sessions. They're so much fun. So that's coming up next week.
He keeps everybody honest, though, Mauricio.
Does.
Yeah.
Find us on the social networks. Look for the podcast at Twitter, on Axis, at AxisGrantedNZ, and on Facebook. And the best way to chat with us is to use Twitter. I'm at Miramar Mike.
And I'm at NZ Raj. And also, we'd really like to help us out by rating us on iTunes. 5 or above would be nice. And add any comments you wish. That just helps people get more awareness of us being out there and doing our thing.
Thank you very much.
Really appreciate it.
We really appreciate it.
And of course, thanks for your time. And see you next Tuesday for the Kiwi Tech people sharing their stories.
Ka kite anō.
#me.co.nz